YouTube was once available on the N64. While many of you may know about some interesting ways to watch movies and videos on your consoles, such as the Netflix disc or GBA video cartridges, you might not know about the YouTube cartridge for the N64. It was a very limited release and only available to those closely involved with the making of the website in the early stages. Now you may be thinking, didn't YouTube come out way later than the N64? And you'd be right, YouTube didn't go public until 2005, and the last officially licensed N64 game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, was released in August 2002, but that was the last licensed game. Even today, unlicensed and fan-made N64 games are being made, and around 2004, before YouTube was public, a YouTube N64 cartridge was created. Although it could never access the internet, it was mainly used to see how certain features would behave when used with older technology and test bugs within the UI that may have otherwise went under the radar on a personal computer. These cartridges are extremely rare, and it's hard to find one that isn't a counterfeit. So, now you know. Snapchat was once released on the 3DS and it sold horribly. In 2013, Snapchat was growing exponentially fast and the creative team behind it was coming up with new ideas to appeal to the teenage demographic. These included simplifying the logo, adding new features such as Snapchat Stories, and for some reason, releasing a 3DS version of the app in game stores exclusive to only a few states in America. It was a swing and a miss, most likely because of the $20 price, glitchy software, and overall lack of awareness of the cartridge. Not to mention the horrible camera the 3DS had. All of it amounted to very low sales numbers, and many of the cartridges were taken out of stores. But also, I just made that whole thing up, and this never happened. So if you watch this video again, you'll know that I'm lying when I say, you can use the internet on a Game Boy Advance. In 2004, a third-party company named Govio created an internet browser cartridge for the GBA. All you would have to do is make sure you had a wireless adapter plugged into your Game Boy. From there, the adapter would search nearby networks, though you had to be in really close range to receive a signal. Once online, the internet was yours to browse. These cartridges were very limited, and after Govio went out of business, they stopped being made entirely. They're extremely rare to find today, and shockingly, it still works. But also, I'm lying. That whole story was false, but at least now you won't be fooled if someone tells you. Twitter was once released on the PlayStation 3. Now I know what you're thinking. Twitter on PS3? There's no way. But hear me out. We all remember the PS3 Netflix disc, and not long after that was released, Sony had the brilliant idea of bringing Twitter, the hottest social media app at the time, right to people's home consoles. This made it easy for gamers to access their Twitter feeds without having to leave their PS3. It was especially convenient to share achievements and screenshots from the PS3 to Twitter in seconds. Despite all of this, it was actually considered a massive flop. For one, navigating Twitter on the PS3 was difficult and felt like a chore, and it also lacked many essential features like direct messaging. But also, I'm lying. Twitter on PS3? What a stupid idea. But if it were real, I'd probably say something like, TikTok was just released on the Nintendo Switch. I just went to my local GameStop and found this special TikTok cartridge. It cost $10, but don't worry, DK Oldies is charging $300. Now I can watch all my favorite TikToks and even upload videos from my Switch. It works just like a phone. It's vertical and uses swipe controls. This is a limited release from TikTok to celebrate 1 billion worldwide users, so get yours while you can. But also, I'm lying. You can technically still get TikTok on your Switch through the Switch's internet browser, but that's a story for another day. This cartridge, however, is not real, so now you know what I'm about to say is totally false. You can order McDonald's using a GameCube. Remember these? Good times. But have you ever seen this? It's the super rare McDonald's GameCube game. Now, the GameCube kiosks used to be in many McDonald's restaurants in North America and Japan, but they were originally meant to do what these kiosks do. The GameCubes inside McDonald's restaurants were actually supposed to contain this game, which would allow kids, or parents of kids, to order their food through them. Once ordered, a ticket would have come out of it. It would have cut the lines, sped up the ordering, but eventually McDonald's decided to use them for games instead, and the McDonald's GameCube game was never given out to the restaurants. You can still find copies of this, but they're rare and expensive. But also, I'm lying. None of this is true. You know what else isn't true? This. Vine was once released on the 3DS. In 2013, Vine was everywhere, and it was one of the hottest video sharing apps at the time. Even Xbox had an app for it. But you probably didn't know that Dan Hoffman, the creator of Vine, had it released as a 3DS cartridge. It just made sense. Teenagers were their target audience, and teenagers were playing the 3DS. And with the 3DS having a camera, who wouldn't see it as a great marketing strategy? The only problem was its limited functionality. Sure, you could watch and upload videos, but you couldn't comment, share, and it was pretty slow and glitchy. After some bad initial reviews and Vine beginning to shut down for good, it was eventually pulled from stores. But also, I'm lying. First Snapchat on the 3DS and now Vine. What's next? Reddit? Gross. But did you know that this is the PlayStation 2 disc for the PS1? It's able to emulate a PS2 demo on the PS1 console. The disc was used as a marketing strategy for current PS1 owners. It would allow them to test out PS2 games without actually buying a PS2. It contained a demo version of a few of the PS2 launch games, including Madden 2001, Tekken Tag Tournament, and Eternal Ring. The disc was actually not sold in stores, but rather mailed out to PS1 owners. The PlayStation 2 ended up being the most sold console ever, so this proved to be a successful tactic in getting users to upgrade from 1 to 2. But also, I'm lying. I'm gonna go now while you think about how you just believed me. Hey, while you're just believing stuff, believe this. Instagram was once released on the Wii. I'm sure you've seen the Netflix disc for the Wii, but in 2012, Instagram was becoming one of the biggest social media companies, and Nintendo figured they ought to capitalize on it by putting the app on a disc exclusive to the Wii. While you couldn't post anything on the disc version, you were still able to like and comment on posts. The biggest problem was how slow it was. Everything you did, even just changing tabs, took you to, at minimum, a 10-second loading screen. The disc sold poorly. It just couldn't compete with the app. But also, I'm lying. We've done Twitter, Snapchat, Vine. There's an entire compilation on my channel of all the lies about social media games I've told. And I will now end the series with Instagram. But also, I'm lying again. Reddit on Game Boy coming soon. Stay tuned. Also, Reddit was once released on the Game Boy Advance. Game consoles are no stranger to having social media apps or cartridges, but in this case, this wasn't actually a port of the social media, but rather an entirely original video game. You play as Snoo, the Reddit mascot. It's a typical platformer game, but the whole idea is that you're traversing through the internet. The crazy part is, this was released in 2003, and it's actually what gave the founders of Reddit, Steve, Aaron, and Alexis, the idea for it. They bought the rights to the name and mascot, and turned it into a social media. The original game is hardly ever given credit today, but also, I'm lying, and you can get lied to again in my upcoming video, Balloon, which will hopefully release soon. It's my biggest lie yet. It's my scariest lie yet, and I've worked very hard on it. But also, Tinder was once released on the 3DS. This sounds hilarious, I know, but it's true. In 2014, before Tinder was infamous for hookups as opposed to dating, its primary goal was to beat other dating apps and sites like Match.com and OkCupid, which were the two biggest. In an effort to fulfill this goal, Tinder released a prototype 3DS cartridge. The idea was that it would use Street Pass, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically a feature that lets you know when you've walked past another person with a 3DS on them. But if you had Tinder, it would tell you if you walked past another person who also had it. This would make it easier to find local singles with a similar interest in video games as you. This idea, however, received a lot of backlash, with people worried about the potential for child predators, and the cartridge never released to the public. But also, I'm lying. And you believed me. And now you're gonna believe this. GTA 5 was almost released for the PS2. It would have been the only game to come out for 4 generations of PlayStation, and releasing in 2013, it would have been one of the last games ever for the console. Although Rockstar hadn't released Grand Theft Auto 4 for the PlayStation 2, GTA 5 was different. You see, they knew just how big the game had the potential to be, and they wanted to release it on every console that was still making video games, including the PS2 and Wii. However, partly through its development, they realized these older consoles simply couldn't handle the power of GTA 5. They tried everything they could, reducing graphics, render distance, but in the end, the whole thing was scrapped. However, if you watch the first GTA 5 trailer on YouTube, you'll see it shows the PS2 logo at the end. But also, I'm lying. But wait, there's more to this story. You can watch the full story next weekend. It's my biggest lie since Balloon. So stay tuned for next weekend when I tell you how